daring parachute escape from a flying 727 somewhere between Reno.
Search was made of the plane immediately.
We don't know who he was, where he came from, or where he went. I expect that we'll keep looking until we find him or find out what happened.
November 24th, 1971. America is 4 days away from Thanksgiving. Somewhere in Portland, Oregon, a man gets dressed. Dark suit, black tie, pearl tie pin, dark glasses. He looks like a businessman. He looks like nobody. He drives to the airport. He walks to the counter, buys a ticket, one way, Portland to Seattle. He gives a name, Dan Cooper. Nobody asks questions. Nobody looks twice. Northwest Orient Airlines, Flight 305. A short domestic hop, 30 minutes in the air, barely enough time to finish a drink. He boards, finds his seat, 18C, window row. He sits down, and he waits. A flight attendant comes by. He orders a bourbon and soda, pays cash, says thank you, looks out the window. Nothing about him stands out. Nothing about him is memorable. No one on that plane gives him a second thought. And that was exactly the point. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper passed a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She assumed it was a phone number and tucked it away without reading it. He leaned toward her and whispered, "Miss, you had better look at that note. I have a bomb." The note demanded $200,000 in negotiable American currency, 4 parachutes, 2 primary, 2 reserve, and a fuel truck ready to refuel the aircraft in Seattle. The airline complied. After landing in Seattle, Cooper released all 36 passengers and 2 of the flight attendants. He kept the remaining crew, the pilots, flight engineer, and 1 attendant, on board. The ransom money was delivered in a canvas bag. The money had been photographed and its serial numbers recorded. Each bill was marked. Cooper ordered the plane south toward Mexico City. The pilots negotiated. They pointed out that with the aircraft loaded, the 727 could not make Mexico City without refueling. Cooper agreed to stop in Reno, Nevada. He also had specific demands for how the plane would fly. Low altitude, no more than 10,000 feet. Slow airspeed, below 150 knots. Landing gear deployed. Flaps at 15 degrees. These were not random requests. This was someone who understood aircraft performance. At approximately 8:13 p.m., somewhere over the dense forests of southwestern Washington, a warning light in the cockpit illuminated. The aft air stair pressure indicator. Cooper had lowered the rear staircase. Moments later, he jumped. Into a storm. Into the night. Into the trees. He was never seen again. The terrain he jumped into was, in a word, unforgiving. Dense Pacific Northwest forest, elevation changes of thousands of feet, temperature near freezing, rivers running fast and cold. Military units swept the area. Volunteers searched. Aerial patrols circled for weeks. They found nothing. Not a parachute, not a footprint, not a dollar bill. The wilderness had swallowed every trace. 9 years passed. Then, on February 10, 1980, an 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was digging a campfire pit along the north bank of the Columbia River at a location called Tina Bar. His shovel hit something. Buried in the sand were 3 small bundles of decayed $20 bills, totaling $5,800. The serial numbers matched the Cooper ransom perfectly. It was the only physical evidence from the ransom money ever recovered, and it raised more questions than it answered. The question that has haunted investigators for over 50 years, is D.B. Cooper alive? The conditions on the night of November 24, 1971 were brutal. Temperature around 7 degrees Celsius, winds at altitude near 100 knots, heavy rain, and below, hundreds of square miles of old-growth forest and the Lewis River. If he missed the river, he hit trees. If he hit trees, at speed, Without being able to see them coming, the outcome would likely be fatal. Of the 4 parachutes provided, Cooper made a choice that has puzzled experts ever since. He took the civilian back parachute, the NB-6, as his main chute, and one of the dummy reserves as a backup. The dummy reserve had been sewn shut as a training prop. It could not be deployed. Did Cooper not know? Or did he not plan to need a reserve at all? And yet, there are compelling reasons to believe Cooper was trained, possibly military, possibly airborne. He knew the 727 had aft stairs that could be lowered in flight. This was not public knowledge at the time. He knew what airspeed and altitude specifications to demand that would be survivable for a jump. He wore loafers, no boots, no gloves, no warm clothing. Either he was supremely confident in his ability to survive, or he didn't expect to. Robert Rackstraw was an Army paratrooper, a Green Beret candidate, a convicted forger, a thief, and a con man of remarkable ability. He was investigated by the FBI on multiple occasions and always passed the polygraph. His eye color and height didn't quite match the composite. A private investigation team later claimed his photographs contained hidden codes referencing the hijacking. The FBI did not find this compelling. Rackstraw died in 2019. Without a confession. Kenneth Christensen was a Northwest Airlines employee, a baggage handler and purser, and a former military paratrooper. His brother came forward after his death to claim that Kenneth had confessed. Christensen's physical description was a close match, but he was heavier than witness accounts suggested, and his hair color didn't match. His insider knowledge of the airline and its aircraft made him a compelling suspect. The FBI found the evidence insufficient. The most recent and scientifically rigorous lead came not from a witness or a confession, but from Cooper's tie. Forensic analysis of microscopic particles found on the tie revealed rare metallite compounds and titanium, materials consistent with manufacturing work, specifically with aircraft parts fabrication. Researcher Thomas Kay and his team linked this to an engineer named William Gossett, formerly William Smith, a Navy pilot and veteran who later worked in industrial settings. Gossett allegedly confessed to a priest, and then he died. The FBI did not publicly confirm this lead. In April 1972, just 5 months after the Cooper hijacking, a man named Richard McCoy hijacked a United Airlines flight using an almost identical method. He demanded $500,000 and parachuted from the aircraft. McCoy was a Green Beret, an Army helicopter pilot, and a trained parachutist. He was captured days later with most of the money. He was convicted and imprisoned. He escaped in 1974 and was killed in a shootout with FBI agents. The flight crew who saw Cooper reviewed McCoy's photographs. They said it was not him. On his deathbed in 1995, a man named Dwayne Weber told his wife, "I am Dan Cooper." He claimed to have jumped from the plane and crawled injured from the riverbank. The FBI investigated. They found that Dwayne Weber's fingerprints did not match the partial print found on the aircraft. DNA extracted from his belongings did not match the DNA found on Cooper's tie. His widow remained convinced until her death. The evidence said otherwise. In July 2016, the FBI officially suspended active investigation of the Norjat case. After 45 years, more than 1,000 suspects, tens of thousands of investigated leads, and 0 arrests. They cited the need to redirect resources. The case is not closed, it is dormant. D.B. Cooper became a name that nobody chose. The press conflated Dan Cooper with a local man named D.B. Cooper who was quickly cleared. The name stuck. Whoever he was, he stepped off the back of a plane into a stormy Pacific Northwest night with $200,000 strapped to his body, and the forest took him. The only unsolved commercial aircraft hijacking in American history. To this day.